Hello fellow cyclists. I wanted to make a different video today. Most of my videos are shortcuts of various incidents, but I thought I'd put a long filter video which shows me travelling through rush hour in London, just to sort of explain the logic behind how I deal with heavy traffic and keeping safe. So here we are cycling along the embankment next to the River Thames, and you can see that the traffic's quite congested. This is rush hour, so it's probably about 6 p.m. And the first thing we're looking at is, we're going alongside heavy vehicles here, and that's obviously quite dangerous. You see a little green arrow there. I'm looking at the front wheels. So whilst cars don't always indicate if they're going to move left or right, if you look at the front wheel, that's the purest indicator that they're going to move. So the risk here is that if, say, that coach moved over, you could get squeezed between the two. So you look at the front wheel of that cab there, for example, and you can see that the front wheel's pointing the other way, so it's not going to come across. So here we're squeezing through another little tight gap. There's a lot of debate about whether undertaking is legal. So I just passed a police car there, they don't mind. Whilst it doesn't explicitly say that you can undertake in the highway code, it does outline that as a cyclist or motorcyclist or scooter rider, you can filter through heavy traffic, be that on the inside or the out. The highway code mentions several areas about this. So Rule 160, for example, says that road users should be aware of other road users, especially cyclists and motorcyclists who may be filtering through traffic. And Rule 88 mentions manoeuvring. Road users should take care and keep speed low when filtering in slow moving traffic. Rule 211 says it's often difficult to see motorcyclists and cyclists, especially when they're filtering through traffic. So the highway code does acknowledge that that's common. Also, turning rules for junctions for cars, Rule 72 says when approaching a junction on the left, watch out for vehicles turning in front of you. Just before you turn, check for undertaking cyclists or motorcyclists. So the code does accept that it happens, and it's a pretty obvious thing to do on a cycle. It's one of the benefits of cycling. So here you can see I'm coming along up behind this cyclist who I want to overtake. She's going a little bit slower than me, but obviously there's not enough room in the traffic. So again, just being patient and waiting for a gap. It's always important to look past the cyclist, so if you're following a cyclist closely, don't look at the back of that cyclist, because if they stop, you're likely to go into the back of them. You'd always look further ahead. And here I can see further ahead that there's a gap, so I can just nip past her. Plenty of room. A lot of people talk about the 1.5 metre rule. You must always leave 1.5 metres. In London, it's just not possible. The roads are narrow, you can see all the cars here. We're not 1.5 metres from those cars. And again, I don't have problems with cars that overtake me with less than 1.5 metre gap. That's fine, as long as they're not blasting past at 40 miles an hour. If their speed differential is just a few miles an hour, that's absolutely fine. Typically in rush hour, it's more often the cyclists overtaking the cars than the other way around. Again, we've got a lorry here. This cyclist is just holding back, which is fair enough. I absolutely recommend caution when going past lorries. I'm reasonably comfortable with this. I can see there's a good gap. He's actually changing lane there, so that's no problem. Again, coming out with this coach, looking at that front wheel. Okay, that's fine. And again here, I'm looking at the front wheel. That's fine. So there's a reasonable gap here as all the cars are queued up at lights. I've just checked left here just to make sure nothing's going to pull out of me, and there's a little cycle lane here to just help us filter through. It's quite a busy junction, so I think we just want to protect the cyclists from the cars turning left. So here we go into more congestion. Nice BMW Z4 there. Well, I'm not sure I'd want to be driving a convertible in this traffic. I'm going to move into the centre of the road here, so I just check over my right shoulder, and then I'm going to follow this cyclist down here along the dotted white line. This car's going to let me through. Again, there's no room here, so I'm just going to wait. I think I'm actually going to go to the left here, so again I check over my shoulder, make sure there's nothing coming, and then squeeze through. Now here the cars are nicely lined up. Basically, if the two wing mirrors of the two cars are lined up, then there's not enough room to get through, but as long as they're sort of staggered, you can zigzag through. Yeah, we're probably not moving any more than 5 miles an hour here. So I'm just trying to squeeze through this gap and get into the cycle lane, check over my shoulder. I nearly missed the light there. I only noticed at the last minute it's red, so I stopped. The guy on the Boris bike, the London hire cycle, he's just going to go through. And you see this lady riding on the pavement, which you shouldn't do, that's actually illegal. And another cyclist runs through, but when the lights turn green, so they're off. I can see that car's turning left there, it's indicating, so I'm going to go to the right hand side of it. There's a cycle lane now on the left, so I'm just going to move over. Watch the pedestrian on the mobile phone. You have to watch them, they're a bit like zombies on their phones, they just walk around without looking. She'd stop though, she didn't do anything wrong, but you have to keep an eye out for that sort of thing. People often step into the cycle lane before they actually look. There's plenty of room down here. Mopeds are going down the outside. So yes, one of the reasons why they say cyclists are disliked a lot by motorists is because we effectively get to jump the queue, and many motorists don't see that as being fair. It's kind of like rules of the road, everyone's sort of civil in cars. On the whole, people let each other out, or if you get 2 lanes merging into one, you kind of zipper, each car takes its turn, and there's kind of like a moral code there. And I think drivers feel that cyclists don't adhere to that moral code. Really is the fact that it is, whilst it might seem unfair, is we're in very different vehicles. We're much more vulnerable on the cycle, but we're also a lot smaller and we can fit through gaps. If you're on a cycle, why would you sit in a queue of cars if you don't have to? It doesn't make sense. So as we discussed earlier, it's permitted by the rules, so there's no problem. So now I'm on the King's Road, entering into Parsons Green here, just holding up the lights. And we're off, so it's a bit more open now, so the congestion has died down. My bike ride is a single speed, so it's different to a fixed speed. A fixed speed, you always have to move your legs, you can't free wheel. This is a single speed, so it's only got one gear, but you can free wheel, which I think is essential in London. You're often coasting, so it'd be crazy if you couldn't stop your legs, so you had to keep spinning all the time. So I wouldn't recommend a fixie for city cycling. Okay, the lights are green, one extra car sneaks through ahead. Takes me a little while to get speed. Again, there's quite a decent cycle lane here. It's a dotted cycle lane. And what that means is, traffic can go into it, but the highway code still says you can only go into a dotted cycle lane if unavoidable. If it's a solid line separating it, you're not allowed in at all. But if it's a dotted line, only if it's unavoidable. So it still really means you shouldn't be in there. But again, you can see that these roads are quite narrow, so it's very hard for drivers to avoid them. You do get some cheeky drivers trying to overtake each other by using the cycle lanes, so you shouldn't really do that. So I'm about full speed here. So people seem to think I'm far too fast on my cycle. If you look at that car that's just pulled out, he's now pulling away from me. I'm probably getting about 20-25 miles an hour. Faster than that cyclist there, but it's not really that fast, it just looks quick on the GoPro. So there's not much going on here, it's reasonably open. Again, just junctions, you've got to look out for cars pulling in, cars pulling out. It is hard for cars to see cycles, so as much as they should see you, they quite often don't, and, it's to be expected. And this car's indicating here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let it pass through. Never go up the inside of a car that's indicating like that. Again, they might not have seen you and they might turn in on you. I think most of the accidents in the city are cars or vehicles turning in on cyclists that are up to the left of them. If a car does that to you, you'll probably be okay, but if it's a big vehicle like a lorry or a bus, you can go underneath, and that's where people unfortunately have fatal accidents. So with large vehicles, it's always worth being cautious. So we're now running down towards Putney, and it's a bit congested. This guy doesn't want to go through this gap, which is absolutely fine, but I've got space, so I want to go through. What your risks are here are pedestrians walking through. Obviously that's a zebra crossing, but even where there aren't crossings, you can get pedestrians walking through. So you can see my speed's a lot slower than it was before. At this speed, I can stop pretty quickly on the bike. I'm just coasting now. You can't see my knees going because there's a crossing there, so just making sure that's clear before I go through. Again, you often get cars hanging in the cycle lane like that, either with their nose in the lane or their rear end as they're trying to squeeze out through traffic, so it's quite hard for them, so it's fair enough. You know, if you don't try and nudge your way out, you're never going to get out. You can see the extent of this traffic here. More roadworks, so I think we're being held at a light here. So again, I can squeeze my way up. There's plenty of room. The width of a cycle isn't really much more than the width of your steering wheel, so as a driver you've got a far greater ability to squeeze through gaps. There's some pedestrians coming through, you have to watch out for them, kind of leaning out over the edge of the road, so there's a bit of a squeeze to get past them there, but I'm clear. Moped in the cycle lane. Don't really mind as long as they don't hold me up. But sometimes they get to a gap that they can't get through and then they stop and then they hold the whole cycle lane up, even though the cycles can get through the gap. So we're reaching the end of the King's Road now. It's a bit of a busy junction here, there's often cars pulling out in the cycle lane. So, another mobile phone zombie. She doesn't see me until the last minute. So again, you should never go too quickly through sort of congested areas like this. You just don't know where somebody's going to pop out. Now we're heading down towards Putney Bridge, just to the left ahead. Currently Hammersmith Bridge is closed, so it means there's a greater volume of traffic going over Putney Bridge, which means it's quite congested. Can't remember if I took this video before or after Hammersmith Bridge closed. I was trying to balance, but I gave up, and now we're off. So because I've got a single speed, I've got quite a high gear, I'm a bit slow to get away. Because I've got uphill, it's a bit of a struggle this bit, but we're off. Again, just keep an eye on that front wheel of the lorry, making sure he's not encroaching the lane, which he doesn't. There's often buses pulling in and out here. So Putney Bridge is terrible for buses. It doesn't look too bad in this video, but there's a lot of bus routes that go over this bridge. But the good news is we can use the bus lane here, so there's a bit of space, but you can see it, the bus ahead's just pulled out, so I'm going to have to just sit behind him there. But it's far better than being stuck in the traffic. Bit of an effort because you can't tell here, it's quite uphill on a cycle when you've only got one gear, so it's a bit of an effort. Now we're cruising down the other side, and I might think about squeezing past this bus here. He's going to stop, there's a queue of buses, so I'm just going to zip down the middle here. So the light is red for the traffic on the right, so I'm going to stay in the bus lane. Now I want to pull across because I want to go down Lower Richmond Road. So this bus is also trying to get into that lane, so I'm going to come round on the right and just move down here. So it's a bit unnerving. When I first started cycling, this was all very unnerving because you're very close to big vehicles. But that bus there, it can't move right. It couldn't run me over if it wanted to. It'd have to reverse and do a 3-point turn pretty much. So you're safe alongside these vehicles. You just have to be aware that if they're moving, that gap might close. So I'd always exercise caution. And this bus has got his nose in the cycle box. There's a box at the front of the lights for cyclists where that moped is, but there's no room, so I'm just going to sit here and wait. The other cyclist goes the wrong way around the island, but I'm just going to sit behind the bus. It's going to stop at the stop in a minute anyway. Come on! There's nothing to be gained by trying to squeeze that right. If I went down that gap there and then get squeezed against the railings, it's just not worth it. And now he's going to stop at the stop just up ahead, so I'm going to poise myself to overtake. Easy. And that's it. I think after this bit it all clears up. So after this I have a reasonably free ride home. But the King's Road and Putney Bridge and the embankment as well, they're often very congested during rush hours, as you can expect. So just shows you can cycle it safely, but there's just a few things there to look out for. Cool, I hope this was interesting. Let me know in the comments. I normally post sort of short dramatic videos, but this is a sort of long slow one. So I don't know if anyone will watch it or be interested, but I can make more of this sort of thing if that's useful. Just talk about the tips I've learned over the last 13 years to keep myself safe. I'm no expert, but I've not had any accidents in the last 13 years. I've not hit anybody or had any major collisions or damaged anything on my bike. I think I've cycled into the back of a van once, which wasn't very clever, but only at about a couple of miles an hour. So cool. Thank you very much and have a great day.